streams of coloured smoke trailing out behind. Sometimes you have parachutists and jet formations, but it's been gliders this morning. And what a display they've put on in the bright blue sky of the Austrian Alps. There are the statistics for the strife. 1,665 meters above sea level, dropping down to the foot of the mountain. And I'm going to hand you over now to our race commentators in Kitzbuhel. Nick Fellows is alongside Ed Drake.
Many thanks to Matt Chilton for that introduction, and here we are with the live pictures. And as Matt has described, this is the biggest event on the sports calendar here in Austria. It is the biggest event of the World Cup Tour, with many of the skiers in action today saying that a win here today is bigger than Olympic gold. Now, the Americans get the action underway with Nyman and Gannon going with bib number 2. The first of the French, Théo Keeley, was the first winner here back in 1967. Peter Phil, last year's winner, goes with bib number 5. Jansrud, who now leads the downhill standing with Svindal out for the season, goes with 7. Dominic Paris, another former winner here on the Strife racetrack, goes with bib number 9. Gus Fayed from Chamonix in France has drawn bib number 11. Beat Voits on the podium here 24 hours ago in the Super G, ramps up the speed and pressure, and will start for the Swiss team in 13. Carlo Janka, another one of the big guns from Team Switzerland, starts with 15. And Eric Gay, the Canadian, has bib number 17, looking to emulate some of the greats of Canadian ski racing, such as Podborski and Ken Reid. And Kilda, who is a tip for many here today, races with bib number 19. 63 starters from 14 national ski associations. It's a one-run, high-speed, adrenaline chase. Man, mountain, the clock. This is the Hahnenkamm, this is the Strife, this is Kitzbuhel. The atmosphere is electric. 60,000 people on over 800 trains have been coming in. Niki Lauda, Harty Weirreiter, the VIP list just goes on and on and on. Verstappen, the Formula One racing driver, is at the top of the mountain with the skiers as they prepare. This will be one of the fastest, most exciting, some people are saying pure rock and roll from start to finish on the racetrack today. And only the bravest, the most fearless of ski racers will take the top prize of 75,000 euros here today. The 49th running of the Hahnenkamm in Kitzbuhel is underway, and it's the American Steve Nyman out on course. In the commentary box, Nick Fellows and former British #1 Ed Drake, and he's already, Ed, up to 70 miles per hour as he comes into carousel and prepares for the style hang.
You can't get your head around the piste here. It's so steep, so icy. You get up to speed so quickly. There is no room to ease your way into this track. It is full attack, full speed right from the get-go.
Listen to the skis rattling on this bulletproof snow, and where it's got a little soft, they've even watered the track overnight. This is the Bruckenschuss. They get a little bit of a breather. We need to see the gliding skills, and this is where Nyman, Ed, made his mark on training run 1 of 2 practice sessions, where the American was the quickest on the mountain.
He's got such good feeling on his skis. He can get those skis flatter, just gliding across the snow, like you say. Such a good touch on the skis, and this is where he's going to really come to fruition here as he's coming into the jump by the restaurant just here. And this is super slick, and you've also got a couple of cross ruts from the Super G from yesterday, and then you get down to this next section, big left foot and into the next track.
Now he's in the Oberhausberg coming up. There's a new gate, a double gate, to try and scrub some of the speed off and avoid the compression area of Hausberg, which caused so many terrible crashes in this race last year. Now look for the big Red Bull arch. Here comes that new double gate. There you see 2 reds scrubbing a bit of speed off. Now we come down to the business end, and it really does have a sting in the tail. Over Hausberg, onto the traverse, stand hard on the right foot, hold the ski, hold that racing line to bring the speed into the finish area. Nyman now up to 70, 80, 85 miles per hour through the gun, Brococious, and Team USA set the pace. 1 minute 55.85 seconds. America haven't won for 14 years in the downhill here in Kitzbuhel. That was Darren Ralphs back in 2003. Is that good enough for an American win today?
Look at these pictures as he's coming onto the fall away. You can't see anything. You just drop over that little roll, stand on that right foot, and hope to carry as much speed as you can towards the finish. Looked like a good run, minimal mistakes. It'll be interesting to see whether that's enough to take him onto the podium.
Well, the Americans are starting back-to-back next to each other. Not a lot of time for Nyman to get on the radio and help the next American skier who's in the gate. That will be Ganong, one of the big favourites here today. Kjetil Jansrud, winner here in 2015, looking good in the practice runs. He'll be definitely a man to watch, but it's America once again. Here's Ganong with bib number 2, the 28-year-old from Squaw Valley, USA. This first left, then right foot to him. The big mouse Cephala jump, flying half the length of a soccer pitch at 65 miles per hour.
And then landing on what is essentially concrete. It's so slick, so as you can hear those skis chattering, trying to find edge, trying to find grip. And that is a really abrupt roll in the track just there as well. Gets you flying through the air as you're trying to really control your line, control your direction, and then to get spat out into the air is especially tricky. Now he's just got to take a breath, get in his tuck, and let those skis go.
Now we pick him up a little further down the track live. Those are the intermediate times on the right of your screens. It tells us that Ganong is about 8/10 plus off the pace here as he comes out of Siedel-Almsprung, now working his way. This is where they say that needs a little bit of finesse, a little bit of touch on the skis. The tough, or the top third of the challenge, is harder than ever before. But a lot of the racers are saying, Ed, that the lower third has perhaps been the easiest it's been in the past decade.
There certainly has. They were saying, I was on inspection chatting to a couple of races, and they said that the bottom part is actually easier now, especially with this new section here. The turn is a little lower down the mountain, gives you a little bit more time to roll on to try and find a clean edge before you just grab your bullet across this fall away.
Ganong out of traverse now. Down into the fall line, 1.33 off the pace. Now, has Ganong had a poor run, or has Steve Nyman had a flyer? That is the question that we need to wait and watch for. 1 minute 56.96 seconds. Ganong into runner-up position, but it's his teammate Nyman at the top of the table.
Just watch these tough turns. You can't, it's really hard to show you on TV how steep and icy and how big these turns are on the top section. You'd struggle to make these turns on GS skis, let alone 2.15 meter downhill skis with a turning radius of 45 plus meters.
It's a waiting game for the man from Utah. Steve Nyman leads for Team USA. The first of the French challengers, carrying bib number 3, is Adrien Théault. It has been 20 years since the French last won here in Kitzbuhel. That was the legend Luc Alphand. He's comfortably sitting in a warm commentary box like us now, working with French TV. But it is going to take something quite special and magical to nail this track from top to bottom.
It really is. And this top section, again, you can't stress to you how difficult this is. These racers have to be at full attack and full strength as they come to try and carry speed across into this next tuck-in section, and he's getting late and low in the line, and that's going to affect his speed across the flat shoes.
It's so important to bring all the speed off the Steilhang into this gliding Brockenschuss part of the track. It's a little breather. We pick him up live off the Siedel-Almsprung. Again, another 30-40 meter flight through the air. Now again, the racer needs to soften it up a little as they come through the Larenschuss part of the track. And this will be the key split. Split number 5 is make or break. And Théault is 0.33 off the pace. On the podium here, 6 years ago in 2011.
Great turns as he's coming towards the Red Bull jump, looking to control the speed, trying to stay smooth even though the speed is low, and then down into an abyss before stepping on that right foot and getting after it across the fall away.
Now you've got to stay high in the racing line here. Get as close to the top of the blue corridor as you can, then dive into the Zielschuss, the finish schuss. Fastest part of the course, and the Frenchman's coming good. He's coming fast towards the end of the challenge. 136 through the gun, and Theo, he's stolen it in the last 400 meters of the challenge. 1 minute 55.72. Adrien Theo puts France into top position.
Quality run, didn't panic when he got pushed late in the line just here. Very nice, stayed low, didn't panic. Little bit of a compression, bit twisted up, but managed to still keep the skis tracking down the hill, trying to find clean carves. Another quality shot off the Red Bull jump, trying to stay low. Much snow contact as possible.
Well, that's Max Franz. He's not shoveling the snow to clear the driveway. He's shoveling the snow to keep the boots cold and to keep them hard and stiff. That's what he's doing there. He's not clearing the drive at all, I promise you. Let's get back to the race. Patrick Kung, Switzerland, next in the gate. So many of the Swiss racers, Ed, trying to live up to the reputation of the great Didier Couche. 6 times a winner here in Kitzbuhel, 4 times the World Cup downhill champion. And Kung is one of many that often feels they're caught in the shadow of their best ever speed racer.
As well as that, it's the pressure that the fans are used to winning. The fans are used to having somebody at the top, at the pinnacle, being the best in the world, and then to have that to live up to as you try to bring your A game to these races is another thing that these guys are having to work out. He's getting pushed low in the line, getting rattled about. I wouldn't be surprised if that top section actually becomes a little bit nicer later in the start numbers, just because there'll have been a few tracks from the skiers, a few little places where they can find grip.
My name's Cam McCall, and I've been a professional mountain bike rider for about 13 years. In that span of time, things have definitely evolved, and right now I'm in a pretty cool place. I'm traveling around announcing the competitions that I used to compete in. Still have opportunities to do film projects with my sponsors, hosting a TV show which has been taking me to all kinds of different places. I'm a dad of 2, and I live in Bend, Oregon. Yeah, once you get kids, you start to look at everything a little bit differently. Your choices are what their safety depends on. So a car is a great example of that. If you're going to take your kid to school, or on a long road trip, you want something that is going to protect them if something out of your control happens. When Volkswagen came to me and said, hey, if we were to give you the opportunity to go on a fun trip, what would that look like? Looking at all these amazing places that I've traveled for mountain biking, but also kind of feeling like I haven't fully experienced those places the way you really should. Squamish is one that has always stuck out in my mind. The fact that I have so many friends here who know all the goods, I'm like, man, this is a crime that I'm not taking up these opportunities. These friends I know who are killer riders and they know all the spots and they're just opening their arms up. The time has come. In the race car. So do you guys know where we're going?
Okay, here we go. Let's check it out. Navigate to 305 Water Street, Vancouver.
305 Water Street, Vancouver. The route is being calculated.
Parking!
Look at the finish line.
Yeah,
like a little checkered flag in the end.
Yeah! It's a Volkswagen, the same car as ours. So pretty. Yeah!
Nice car.
Nice color. Yeah! One thing that I really love about mountain biking in general is that it does really feel like a tight-knit community. Even though it's growing and growing and growing, bikes are becoming more popular, the bikes are getting better, allowing more people to get out on the trail and have a good time. But yet it still has maintained this close-knit vibe. You can show up at a bike shop anywhere and feel welcomed. Republic Bicycles in Squamish was a great example of that. Helped me build my bike up. I had some new Shimano Di2 parts on there, and I'm pretty new to that stuff, but an experienced bike shop, independently owned shop like that they know their way around the new product, and they were able to help me get that up and running. Be able to cruise through here in a vehicle that is fully capable of getting to all these remote locations. You say remote because you're on a dirt road for a while until you get to this iconic trail. But you look around, you realize, like, wow, this place is so cavernous with the mountains that seem to just spring right out of the ground. You're not actually that far away from town. You've just been winding through all these valleys and peaks to be able to get there. It took me a little bit of time to get the confidence, but once I realized that the vehicle was giving me all the reason in the world to be confident, the 4Motion all-wheel drive, looking at the trail ahead of me, I almost started to feel like I was on my bike. So we were cruising around, doing lots of film trips together, and you were out there building, and then Ted calls me up and hey man, I found this really great chasm at home in Squamish. You want me to build a gap over it? I'm like, yes, that sounds amazing. I've been through here a handful of times, but it was always with a specific agenda. The river gap that I shot 8 years ago was a great example of that. Every time I drive through Squamish, I think about that river gap and the fact that I only spent one afternoon riding it, and the fact that I know there's so much more riding right around that jump. I guess we'll leave it in the past now. It's pretty much ready for a bonfire over there. Bring your marshmallows and your wieners. The river gap is done.
Because there'll have been a few tracks from the skiers, a few little places where they can find grip because it's so slick up there.
Off the Siedelaumsprung. And again, look how the legs are just being pummeled. And believe you me, as you start to come to the last third of the racetrack, they burn. That lactic acid stops the racer from flexing and extending as it gets harder and harder. And as we know, the striped racetrack is one hell of a ride, but its sting in the tail comes right at the end of the challenge when you're most tired.
Yeah, and look at his legs. Look at especially that outside leg. It's very long and it's very braced almost. There's not a lot of flexion and extension going on in this leg. You'll see that as he then rolls up onto this big right foot. He's just sticking it out there. You need to still try and be supple with that strength and getting pushed in the backseat again. He's got to try and find the pressure on the front of the skis as he drops down the Zielschuss. Here he comes.
Top speed through the gun, Patrick Kung, fastest man on the mountain so far, but the errors were made further up on the challenge, 4th position.
Pretty quick through the speed gun down there. That is a big last jump as well, flying sort of 40-odd meters coming into the finish when you're doing that speed. Takes some stones, it really does. Getting pushed over the fronts of the skis, he's trying to stay compact.
Now there is the warm-up area at the top of the racetrack. Some of the athletes on the bike doing a little bit of spinning. Others choose just to switch right off, headphones on, and almost go to another world. Let's get to the race though. Bib number 5, the downhill champion of last season, the winner here last year. The big shot for Italy. This is Peter Phil out on course. He's one of those skiers that looks to have the minimum of effort, but with the maximum of performance.
And he's got so much experience. He will have done this track sort of 15, 20 times nearly, and he will use every ounce of that knowledge as he comes down here, making good turns through this opening section. Through the chatters, he's still able to find a clean edge. Now he builds big left foot turn. This is the part where you carry. He's very, very high, trying to carry lots of speed across the flat.
Oh, beautiful. So calm and cool through Carousel and Steilang, and the result, he's got the green light. 0.14 of a second quicker than Adrian Theo. Still early days as we pick him up off the Siedelaumsprung, but now it's up to 0.32. Oh, this would be magical if Peter Phil could do it again.
He looks so relaxed. He looks like a man who's not panicking. He knows what he's after as he's coming from light to shade. That's another thing that the racers are having to deal with. Just a little bit of perception of what's happening underneath them on the snow. That's tricky.
Larchenschuss now. Again, a little bit of a breather before you prepare for the Oberhausberg and then the Hausberg canter, now known as the Red Bull jump. Here he comes, Peter Phil. This new double gate takes a little bit of the speed off to avoid the problems that we experienced last year with 4 racers in the top seed crashing at this point. And now the toughest part of the track, onto the traverse. Your gravity's pulling them down the mountain and you've got to cut across it. Green light again. The Italian fans are on their feet. Peter Phil in that tight bullet tuck position, and Italy have got it. Italy are in the lead. Peter Phil, 0.3 of a second, the right side of the clock. The downhill champion from 2016, the winner here a year ago, is on top of the table once again, with Mr. Schwarzenegger also back.
He looked impressed with that, and as he should be. It looked like he's so calm down there. It didn't look like he was panicking, didn't look like he was fighting against the hill too much. Looked like a man on a mission, knew what he's after. A little bit off balance over the Red Bull jump, didn't panic again, rolled up, then dropped down onto the fall away.
Here's one of the big guns from Team Austria. There will be 60,000 spectators. It's a deafening roar from the commentary box. You can hardly hear yourself speak. Hannes Reichelt is out on track. The winner of the downhill here in 2014. One of the big stars of Austrian ski racing. And the green light is there, but Reichelt's in trouble. Throws it all away in the Steilhang and scrubs off all of that excellent work on the opening turns.
Oh, he'll be devastated. That was such a big error. Let's see if he's managing to put that out of his mind and really just try and crack on with the attack. He's got to try and he's got to find a second. That's going to be nigh on impossible, but he's still got to concentrate down here. This is a track that takes all your concentration and needs your full attention from top to bottom.
Yeah, this 3.3 kilometer track, it's only 2 miles long, and there's very little room for error. Look at Reichelt here, trying to pull every little bit of experience and trick out of the bag to try and make up for that error in Steilhang.
It's not been a good weekend for him. Yesterday really struggled, didn't bring his A game, and likewise with that big mistake, again, not really brought it. But from that mistake at the top, he's ticking away tenths. That's going to be even more frustrating, knowing how quick he's going now. One big error on the top, and that's almost going to be too much. We'll be very, very surprised if he manages to pull 8 tenths back.
Oh, they haven't won the downhill here for 10 years, Team Austria, and many thought that it would be Reichelt. Is it the pressure? Or is it just lady luck on the wrong side of the track foot? Reichelt, he's looking a little tired. He needs to be careful here. Looking a little straight in the legs as he comes to traverse. See how he's opening up very tall to try and get more air into the lungs. Now he gets a good high line on traverse. 0.64. Now 0.65 off the pace. Can Hannes Reichelt do something extraordinary? 141 through the speed gun. That is over 88 miles an hour. Reichelt into 3rd position with an electrifying finish. But the mistake in well, he knows it, doesn't he? The mistake in Steilhang puts pay to Reichelt's chances. Here it is again in slow-mo. Just carousel, here it is.
Pushed onto the tails, and then with the conditions that slick, then trying to find an edge when you're not really over your outside ski. But what a run from there down. He's going to be cursing that error, that mistake. Could have been the difference between him off the podium and on the podium. So frustrating because he skied quality from there on down.
He hit 88 miles per hour through the speed gun on the lower section. I think we may see somebody go over 90 mph here today. But Reichelt, you're not going to win Kitzbuhel with a mistake on the top part of the challenge like that. And the body language really does tell the story. The first of the Vikings, Kjetil Jansrud, looking to win one for his best buddy Svindal, who's out for the season once again. Many of you remember this was where Svindal went down last season and his nightmare begins. Jansrud made it publicly clear he's going to win this one for Axel. Now, the Norwegian starts off beautifully, identical time to the current leader, Peter Phil of Italy. Into Steilhang.
Great turns through there, staying high in the line, not panicking, really going at this track. Again, like a high line like Phil. Will he carry the same speed across the flat?
0.21, that's well within his reach. Jansrud can find that and find more. Not renowned for his gliding. It's the technical turns, the ice that he likes. A lovely timed flight off the Siedelalmsprung. Almost loses the edge, get a little bit compressed, but he is a classic Viking. He's a fighter, he battles, he digs deep when others run out of steam, and here comes Jansrud, 6 tenths, execution through the Hausberg needs to be perfect.
A couple of heavy edge sets, and that can be the difference. Not even a major mistake, and that can be the 6/10 deficit gone. But he is going to be fighting. You can fully know that, recognize that he is going to bring it down this next section, especially after a disappointing result yesterday.
Here he comes across the traverse. Oh, he's got back low and late, and Jansrud, a lucky escape, and that surely puts pay to the Norwegians' chances. Loses half a second for one error on the breakaway going into traverse. Jansrud will not take the win here today. Peter Phil still leads. Jansrud down to 7th position, 9th in the Super G here 24 hours ago, and 7th today. He's absolutely furious with himself.
I just don't think we're used to seeing quite so many errors from Jansrud. There's something sneaking into his skiing. I don't know whether pressure of being the big man, pressure of being the top dog is getting to him, but we're not used to seeing these errors from him. He's usually so calm and collected and just able to ride it out. But a couple of errors coming in, sneaking, being pushed in the back seat, not really getting those shins forward enough, not really staying over his outside ski and trying to carve cleanly through these bumps. You can see it here, just a little bit inside. You can see that inside hand dragging and in the back seat. That's when the tips rise up.
Yeah, it's not just about brute force when it's icy like this. You need to time the turn. You need to be clean, error-free. It needs a little bit of finesse, and that's why Peter Phil is leading for Italy right now. Calm, clean, and smooth was his tactical play. Carrying bib number 8 for Team Austria is Romed Baumann. Baumann, 15th in the Super G here yesterday. He's been on the podium in the downhill here, but you have to go back to 2012. The downhill in 2012, where he skied into runner-up position, and who was the winner? Of course, Didier Couche.
Just a little passive through this opening section of turns. Easy for us to say that sitting in the commentary box, but he just not quite on the fronts of the boots enough, not really being supple in the outside leg like you was just saying. He's trying to be very strong over his edges, but like you said, you've got to be soft with it. You can't just stick that leg out there and brace and expect the ski to carve cleanly, because then you'll still be rattling through the bumps.
Baumann now finds himself a frustrating 1.63 off the pace, and I fear that could be greater at split time interval 5. 1.53, taking a 10th away.
Shows there's time still to be made in the track against Phil, so that we definitely haven't seen the end of this challenge. But for Baumann, just not really getting it with the timing, a little bit open with that chest, not really getting those shoulders low enough, but he's again taking some time back through the flatter section.
Well, it's a good point that you make, Ed, and that will be encouragement for those racers still to challenge. A small error on the top, that time can be found on the lower section, but Baumann not going to find over 1.25 seconds.
My name's Cam McCall, and I've been a professional mountain bike rider for about 13 years. In that span of time, things have definitely evolved, and right now I'm in a pretty cool place. I'm traveling around announcing the competitions that I used to compete in. Still have opportunities to do film projects with my sponsors, hosting a TV show which has been taking me to all kinds of different places. I'm a dad of 2, and I live in Bend, Oregon. Yeah, once you get kids, you start to look at everything a little bit differently. Your choices are what their safety depends on. So a car is a great example of that. If you're going to take your kid to school, or on a long road trip, you want something that is going to protect them if something out of your control happens. When Volkswagen came to me and said, hey, if we were to give you the opportunity to go on a fun trip, what would that look like? Looking at all these amazing places that I've traveled for mountain biking, but also kind of feeling like I haven't fully experienced those places the way you really should. Squamish is one that has always stuck out in my mind. The fact that I have so many friends here who know all the goods, I'm like, man, this is a crime that I'm not taking up these opportunities. These friends I know who are killer riders, and they know all the spots, and they're just opening their arms up. The time has come. The race car. So do you guys know where we're going?
Okay, here we go. Let's check it out. Navigate to 305 Water Street, Vancouver.
305 Water Street, Vancouver. The route is being calculated.
Parking! Look at the finish line. There's like a little checkered flag in the end.
Whoa! Yeah! It's a Volkswagen, the same car as ours. So pretty. Yeah! Nice car. Nice color. Yeah!
One thing that I really love about mountain biking in general is that it does really feel like a tight-knit community. Even though it's growing and growing and growing, bikes are becoming more popular, the bikes are getting better, allowing more people to get out on the trail and have a good time. But yet it still has maintained this like close-knit vibe. You can show up at a bike shop anywhere and feel welcomed. Republic Bicycles in Squamish was a great example of that. You know, helped me build my bike up, had some new Shimano Di2 parts on there, and you know, I'm pretty new to that stuff, but an experienced bike shop, independently owned shop like that, they know their way around the new product, and they were able to help me get that up and running. To be able to cruise through here in a vehicle that is fully capable of getting to all these remote locations. You say remote because you're on a dirt road for a while until you get to this iconic trail. But you look around, you realize like, wow, this place is so cavernous with the mountains that seem to just spring right out of the ground. You're not actually that far away from town. You've just been winding through all these valleys and peaks to be able to get there. It took me a little bit of time to like get the confidence, but once I realized that the vehicle was giving me all the reason in the world to be confident, the 4Motion all-wheel drive, looking at the trail ahead of me, I almost started to feel like I was on my bike.
So we were like cruising around, doing lots of film trips together, and you were out there building, and then Ted calls me up and like, hey man, I found this really great chasm at home in Squamish. You want me to build a gap over it? I'm like, yes, that sounds amazing.
I've been through here a handful of times, but it was always with a specific agenda. The river gap that I shot 8 years ago was a great example of that. Every time I drive through Squamish, I think about that river gap and the fact that I only spent one afternoon riding it, and the fact that I know there's so much more riding right around that jump.
I guess we'll leave it in the past now. It's like pretty much ready for a bonfire over there.
Bring your marshmallows and your wieners. The river gap is done. You better show up being prepared to experience some pretty rowdy conditions. You gotta have a bike that can actually handle that. And on this trip, being able to try to explore this place, we needed a great car to be able to do exactly that. The trails are slippery, but so are the roads. So the All-Track Sport Wagon was basically the car version of a Trek Remedy 9.9. I got myself into some situations on my bicycle on this trip where I'm like, okay, I'm crashing, it's over, but good suspension, good brakes, next thing you know, you're still rolling. The experience of riding with your friends and like feeling that section of trail that you just watched them roost dirt over a berm like 4 seconds after they just did it, that experience when you get to the bottom of the trail and you're reliving all those moments, there's no substitute for that. You can't fake that. Riding top to bottom with your friends on like world-renowned epic trails, that's the only way to truly feel that, and I think that feeling is what mountain biking is all about. Now that we're at the end of this trip, I had a blast, and it's because this opportunity was brought to my lap. So thanks to all the sponsors, thanks to Rooftop, thanks to Volkswagen, thanks to Anthill, thanks to Fraser and Adam. It's been an amazing ride.
moment, not going to find over 1 1/4 seconds, sadly I have to say, as the Austrian 1 minute 56.86 goes into 5th position. Hannes Reichelt is the best of the Austrians, holding on to 3rd. Theo is in runner-up spot for the French team, but it's Peter Phil, the winner here last year, still setting the mark at 1 minute 55.41 seconds. Italy lead, and Italy are next in the gate with another former winner on the Strife racetrack here on the Hahnenkamm mountain of Kitzbuhel, Austria. This is Dominic Paris, a real old-school downhill racer. He's big, he's powerful, he's aggressive, and the tougher it gets, the more he wants to go for it.
He's an absolute unit. Over 100 kilos, getting up to 100 kilometers an hour in a couple of seconds. That shows you how steep and aggressive you have to be on this track. Look at him now as he's trying to stay that high line that Phil took, executing it like Peter Phil did. He would have had that report from Phil at the bottom and the coaches, which will be positioned at intervals on the way down, so he'll be kept right in the loop. He'll know where he did well, and he'll know where changes need to be made.
He's looking so confident, Ed. Look at him trying to juice the skis, and that means just squeeze a little bit of extra speed on those little rollers on the flat section here. 0.34, that's well within his capability, and we could well see Italy going 1 and 2 here.
And you can see the confidence every time he can. He's straight back in the tuck, even when the skis are rattling about a bit. He's in his tuck. Look at that, staying nice and compact, straight, heavy on the edge, trying to be smooth and making up time.
Now, when you're one of the biggest and most powerful racers on the tour, this is when it becomes an advantage. On this very difficult closing section, look how low and aerodynamic he stays through Ladenschuss. And there it comes, the green light. He's timed this perfectly. Oberhausberg and into the Hausberg jump here. Oh, there's a mistake from Paris. Almost went down through the new double gate, now through the Red Bull arch. And Dominic Paris, watch the split, still in control. Now he draws on those huge, powerful legs to get himself across the traverse, and then the weight will help him find speed on the lower section. Italy will go 1 and 2, but it looks good for Dominic Paris. 140.88 mph through the speed gun. What a ski for Paris! 4/10 faster than his teammate Peter Phil. That is quite special. In control from start to finish, and timed his change up into turbo to perfection. Beautiful work from Dominic Paris, justifiably into top spot.
Lovely turns through that middle section. Just watching him roll from edge to edge, even on those big downhill skis, looking for clean turns. And look at the distance he gets here. Look at him, straight back in his tuck, not even bothered.
In his tuck, he's trying to stay aerodynamic through the air, but that's a sign of confidence and control. Put those together, and even with the small mistakes that he made, he recovered within a split second. Look at him dragging his arm through the snow there at 70 miles per hour. That is not in the technique rule book at all.
Certainly isn't. Just getting caught a little bit on the inside. Luckily, it didn't cost him too much. It could have cost him a couple of tenths. So people will be looking at that in the start, knowing that he's made a little mistake and still in the lead. So that's going to give them a little bit of a confidence boost sitting at the top.
There's a few thousand fans. There's about 55,000 Austrian fans, but there's a few Italians out there, and they are going wild. Dominic Paris really has put the pressure on the young rising stars from Team Austria. And here's the first of them, just 25. This is Kriechmeier, Vincent Kriechmeier. Never better than 7th here. But there's a real healthy young group of Austrian speed skiers starting to make their mark on the tour. And of course, for an Austrian, this is like scoring in the cup final, becoming the heavyweight champion of the world, winning Wimbledon and Monaco all at once.
And all of a sudden, the Austrian speed team, the confidence has turned around from the beginning of the season when they hadn't won a downhill for years, for 13 months, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden to come back and have that confidence from the win yesterday with Matthias Meyer, and look at them, totally changed the perspective of Austrian speed ski racing.
Now, for me, it was this part on where Dominic Paris showed that he had more strength, more power, and possibly possibly a little more weight to help him. That's not the line that you want on the traverse. He's at the bottom of the blue corridor. He's losing time there, and that reflects in his final split, 0.53 at interval 7 off the jump. Not a bad performance from Kriechmeier, but not quite quick enough to take the lead from Dominic Paris. 6th position, 1 place better than he finished last year, with the Italians dominating here in Kitzbuhel. Dominic Paris leads, Peter Phil just behind him in runner-up spot. Welcome back to Kitzbuhel. This race is far from over, but 2 of the biggest names in the sport are at the top of the table. Dominic Paris leads for Italy with the downhill champ of last season, and the winner here last year, Peter Phil, in runner-up place. Already out on course for Team France is Gus Fayet, 3rd in the downhill race here, back in 2015. Fayet, who's coming back from injury, but like so many of the skiers on the tour in this 3rd downhill of 2017, is starting to get back to his best. But Ed, a little too much drift in carousel for me.
There is a few people are going for some different lines. Some guys are coming in a little straighter there with a bit more of a sideways action. Some are trying to ski a little bit more round and trying to be smooth. So a couple of different tactics going on here. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's paid off. 0.44 down, maybe not, but decent speed through the gun.
Yeah, they're letting it drift and then punching it out. So many of the skiers are working their way through that slick, icy section. This is another key split time 3. 48.78 is the target. How's he gone on the Bruckenschuss? Oh, the fastest man on the flats so far. As we said at the beginning of our broadcast, this track tests all the skills of the downhill racer. High speeds, big jumps, but also technical turns and flat gliding section. It really is the classic that we all love. And can Fayet keep this going?
Looking very smooth and subtle. He's trying to stay soft but strong over his outside. Great positioning around that turn. Nice clean edge, nice clean execution as well. But he's drifted to 9/10 of a second deficit now. Got a lot of work to do as he's coming across the flats towards the Red Bull jump.
Yeah, Hausberg canter needs to be perfect for Fayet if he's to break into top flight. There's the new double gate that they've set this year to try and scrub off a little bit of speed so the jump isn't quite as big as in previous years. Over the Red Bull arch into traverse. The entry is absolutely key, as is the exit now into the Zielschuss, the finish schuss, the Zielsprung. 1 more jump to take in, but it's slipping away for Gus Fayet from Chamonix in France, the Frenchman, into 7th position. His teammate Theo still holds on to 3rd spot.
It's quite an interesting run there. Lots of great sections and then a couple of big errors and heavy edge sets. A couple of little not great execution through the bumps, and that puts him down in 7th place.
The Italians are loving being 1 and 2 in the finish area, but now we'll watch the best of Austria. And here's the winner of the last downhill on the Men's World Cup Tour, Max Franz. What a young prospect this lad is, 27 years of age, and he's a very exciting racer to watch. He's not afraid to put it all on the line. He showed us that in the Super G here yesterday, where he took 5th position. But for any young Austrian skier, this is the race. Oh, the Trinidad's gone! Oh! Can you believe that? Look how fast he was. 0.11 quicker than the Italians, and the binding has released on Max Franz. Understandably, he screams. Schuxnadel on the left, Hans Pum on the right, Bernie Eccleston, Niki Lauda and Schwarzenegger all look up to the big screen in the finish area with disbelief. That looked to be an equipment failure, not pilot error, Ed.
Oh, so frustrating. Yeah, it was. The ski popped off. Hopefully we'll see a replay here. Look, he just comes around this big top, pops off before we see it. But that right foot, what happens is the binding's designed for it to come off in situations where the ski isn't weighted, so that if the ski's flapping around, here you go, overhead shot. Little bit, that's the thing, a little bit too much weight on the inside, potentially just unweights the outside ski, and then the binding is flapping, and that's when it comes off. It's such a fine line. The technicians and everybody's there. Watch the outside ski flapping around.
It's just released on him. It's just released on him. The binding thinks he's having an accident and it needs to let him off, and he's not. He's having the run of his life, and he's leading Kitzbuhel, and the ski equipment has let him down. That is the worst nightmare for any downhill racer. Oh, can you believe that? And understandably, he's cursing beyond belief on the side of the track.
and especially with his training runs. He finished actually 5th in the second training run, but all the splits bar the last one, he was in the lead. He was on this track, he knew exactly what he was doing. I was so looking forward to seeing him come here and dominate. I thought he had this one in the bag.
Well, he was 0.11 of a second as he went through the speed trap, or the time split, I should say, on one ski. He was over a tenth faster than the Italian leader, and what a disappointment. You've got to feel for poor Max Franz here, and the crowd feel exactly the same way. This race only comes around once a year, and he's going to have to wait till 2018.
And it's deadly quiet in the finish area now. Listen, the fans in disbelief, just like we are. It's silent down here. Nobody can quite believe what they've seen.
Well, the Slovenians are warming up. Inuffer could make it Italy 1, 2 and 3 here after his performance in the Super G yesterday, where he took runner-up position. But what a disappointment for poor Max Franz. They nickname him Winnerhofer, don't they, when he does the business? And he's hoping that that nickname rings loud here today, here in Kitzbuhel. Let's get back to the action. The race continues. Here is Beat Feuz of Switzerland, another guy that had a really good day in the office here 24 hours ago. Took 3rd position at his first podium of the season. And Feuz is one of those skiers that when he gets into the groove, it's difficult to stop him.
He is a very confident skier. Every race that he does well, you can just see that have a positive effect on every single run post a good result, and I think we're going to see exactly the same from him again. Quality runs in training as well.
Let me take you back to the World Cup finals in St. Moritz. He won the Super G and then he won the downhill. Bang, bang, 1-2. It would not be a surprise to see Feuz shake up these two gentlemen, smiling and enjoying the limelight of being in the leaders' enclosure. I don't think this race is over. Well, I think we're far from it. Robert Trinkfelder from Red Bull, Hansi Hinterseher. Fritz Strobel still has the course record here on the far left of your screens. Walkhofer, another one of the legends of Austrian downhill racing. Mickey Walkhofer out of Altenmarkt-Zaukensee. But it's the Swiss that now look to get this race going and come to the party. Not since Didier Couche have the Swiss team won here, and that was 5 years ago in 2012. Feuz, with a very similar style to Peter Phil, likes to ride the middle of the ski. He likes to stay calm and cool. He's one of those racers that skis with the minimum of effort, but the maximum of performance and skill. Beautiful jump off the Mausafale. Again, the length of half a football pitch, but at 60 mph. Nice top turns. There's that power slide that we're talking about, Ed, and he really does punch it out with precision.
And that's the highest line we've seen through there. Let's see if that will come to good when he comes across the flat. See if he can try and carry as much speed across the flats. Let's see what his speed is on the trap.
Ooh, big green light.
Absolutely right.
0.27. That is a very healthy margin coming into the next 2/3 of the challenge here. The Strife racetrack now starts to get a little more tricky for Beat Feuz. We now need to see some turning skills.
And that speed through that gun will carry the whole way across the flats like you're seeing here. Being that quick at the start of the flats, you are getting that green light for the rest of the flats, and it will just build and build and build.
Oh, this is looking good for Beat Feuz. He was runner-up to Peter Phil in this race last year, and he's looking to turn the table on the Italians, because so far, Feuz is skiing brilliantly. He has not made a mistake. Such confidence off the jumps. Split time interval 5, green or red, still green, 0.22. Feuz is in control.
Beautiful turns round this section here. Look at him, very smooth, very calm. Couple of big deep breaths before the real test of this track.
The 29-year-old Swiss racer has a huge advantage as he goes off the Hausberg jump into traverse. Oh, there's a mistake. Feuz is in trouble. Feuz is down. Feuz is in the net. Oh! And that is an awful crash for Switzerland's Beat Feuz, leading by almost 3/4 of a second, but coming into the traverse with more speed than any other racer. The marshals are there. They're indicating that he needs help. And Feuz, oh dear, has hit the netting at full speed. on one of the most dangerous and difficult sections of the racetrack. These are the moments in downhill ski racing where we all hold our breath. Swiss coaches, Swiss officials cannot believe it. He got it in the bag, surely. He could have afforded an error, 2 or even 3, and still kept that green light across the finish line. He was pushing so hard, but again, one small error on the breakaway of the traverse spits him down, not across the mountain, and he has no choice but to go into the nets at around about 130 kilometers per hour, 80 mph.
That is, that's not a slow speed to be hitting these big A nets. He just took a little bit of time, a little bit of line. He went inside the line that everybody else had been taking, which meant that he had a lot of work to do in a short space of time. He just got pushed into the heels. There's a little roll that he actually took off on, which I don't think he anticipated taking off on, and that then pushed the line low, and you could see him desperately trying to stay out of those nets. Luckily, he sort of hit the nets as he came alongside them rather than into them. He could go very compressed, took off, got light, at least 5, 6, 7 meters before he was actually, so his trajectory is going sideways and down the hill instead of across the hill.
Well, and then this is the nightmare. He's trying to get it back. He's fighting with the mountain now. He knows he's lost the race. He's just trying to avoid and get as much of the energy out, but he can't. He goes into the net here now. He's taken a little bit of the speed off. He thinks he's avoided it, but then another bump pushes him down and into the net. Beat Voigt for Switzerland. It takes all of the inertia and power out of the skier. Is another better camera angle. Look at him fighting to try and stay up on his feet, and then the fight is to stay out of the net. And that's the point where he goes in. And even the Terminator finds that one a little difficult. Well, look at this. Ho, ho, ho. Beat Voigt is up on his feet, and he's going to walk away from this one. Remarkable. Well, Voigt, who's had more than his fair share of injuries over the season, will be delighted to have made this escape. Now, you will see how the Austrians love their ski racing in a couple of moments' time, because Voigt is going to ski into the finish area, and this is how much they respect these speed warriors. We catch him from the cable cam up above. It doesn't matter which racer you've come to cheer. If you take a spill like that and you ski away, every one of those 60,000 fans has nothing but respect. So many have been taken to hospital by helicopter. Voigt is here to ski another day. Now we can take a look at many of the slow-mos as the information gets to our race director, Mickey Kugler, that the Swiss skier is unhurt. Look at him fighting here, Ed. He really knows he's in trouble, and look at him piling in there.
I think very lucky that he was coming along the nets rather than crashing sort of at right angles to the net, so his speed was taken out gradually, which is what you want, because those big A nets, they're not comfortable places to be.
The A-net does its job. That's what it's designed. There's one behind it, which is just called the B-net. Pretty simple to work out. But now we know that he's unhurt. The heartbreak kicks in, because someone's going to tap him on the shoulder and say, by the way, Beat, you were over 7/10 ahead of the leader.
I wouldn't be telling him.
I'm not going to tell him. I'm going to keep out of the way. Oh, well, the good news is that the A-net is being repaired. There's a little hold in the race. Beat Voigt is okay, and the Italians are still in positions 1 and 2. Dominic Paris, former winner here, back in the Super G he won in 2015, is at the top of the table. But let me just take you down the starting list. The best of Canada, Eric Gay, is still to make his challenge. The Olympic downhill champion and winner here yesterday, Matthias Meyer, is still to ski with bib 18. Kilda, the young Viking, goes with 19. And Johan Claret, one of the top French racers in training, is still to ski. But the Italian clean sweep may well happen, Ed, with Inuffer going at 16 after Carlo Janka.
Full of confidence from yesterday as well. So we could see that whether it'll end up like that will remain to be seen, but it could happen. I think Inuffer could fancy his chances down here.
And what we can analyse from Beat Voigt's performance is that there's a lot of time that can be found. He came into the traverse 0.72 of a second. That tells us that whilst Peter Phil and Dominic Paus are at the top of the table, there's still places where speed, healthy speed, can be found.
And all those guys in the start will know that, and the coaches will know that. They'll be talking about where Beat Voigt was doing well and all the stuff that he did right, and they'll all be trying to execute that as well.
Well, whilst we're on a hold here in Kitzbuhel, let's just bring you up to date with some of the amazing news from the Women's World Cup Tour. Lindsey Vonn has won the downhill over in Garmisch-Partenkirchen in Germany, recording her 77th World Cup win. She's chasing the record set by the great Swedish skier Ingemar Stenmark with 86 World Cup wins. I think it's only a matter of time, Ed. Do you think so, before she cracks that record?
Seemingly so. She's still relatively young, and she's still as hungry as ever, so it's on the cards.
Congratulations to Lindsey Vonn. If you're tuning into Eurosport right now, Lindsey, of course, will head off to Cortina next weekend with the Women's World Cup Tour brimming with confidence. The race here in Kitzbuhel, downhill number 3 on the men's tour, is on a hold. That's the Olympic downhill champion, Matthias Meyer from Team Austria. He's only started 4 times here in Kitzbuhel, and he's a winner here yesterday. There's a lot of people, and I'm one of them. I've had a little flutter this morning on Meyer to do the double. Wasn't the best of Bryce's because of the way he won the Super G yesterday, but it's been a long time since the Austrians have won this downhill in front of their home crowd.
And I say they've got a pretty good chance. Like, again, confidence is high from yesterday. He's skiing better than he skied for a long, long time. So we could see Austria taking a gold in their own backyard.
Italy has never won back-to-back downhills here in Kitzbuhel. There's a record coming there. It will be a very interesting finale to this race. 1:56 and counting down on the clock to the next racer in the gate. Well, part of the reason why this is one of the most dramatic and most watched ski races across the world, I believe the figure is in excess of 50 countries taking this live race today. Eurosport as well, of course, part of that family, is because of the drama. And we see Max Franz's ski popping off, and we see Beat Voigt. Well, not many of you may know that, but that's DJ Ötzi. He's kind of big in this neck of the world, but hasn't really cracked it in the Mediterranean yet. That is Bernie Ecclestone and Niki Lauda, 2 great buddies, and of course, the godfather of Formula One. So let's take a look at those 2 dramatic moments. Max Franz, the ski popping off, that's the worst thing that can ever happen to a ski race. I remember it when I was a youngster. I'm sure it's happened to you as well, Ed. You really do want to scream and shout because it's not your fault.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so hard to take that when it's not an error that you've made and you're on the track, and he was skiing so well. So it's extremely difficult.
And of course, let's take another look at the dramatic crash of Beat Voigt. The good news is he's walked away from it and skied into the finish area. And the bad news for Beat is he had the race in the palm of his hand, only to see it slip through his fingers on that very difficult traverse. One of the rising stars of the Slovenian team that's having some success on the World Cup Tour with their speed skiers, particularly Ilka Stuhec on the women's downhill tour. This is Boštjan Klina. He's a good pal of yours, Ed. I think his skiing is going from strength to strength, but this is Boštjan taking it to a level that very few get to challenge.
And he said he was saying that his form is going well and he's moving in the right direction. His coaches were saying that we're going to see some fireworks from this guy. Whether it's today or in the next few races, he will get there.
Yeah, he's never gone better than 22nd in Super G or downhill here in Kitzbuhel. But let's see if Kleiner, one of the best gliders in the business, he's comfortably in the lead at split time too. I can hear the Slovenian commentators screaming from here, but the business end of this track is still to come.
Yeah, he'll be taking a couple of deep breaths. He comes over onto this next big jump, very heavy on the landing. This is the part of the track that's just super duper slick, and he's trying to stay clean on his edges into the next big flighted jump.
Silau, nice flight there, nice control. Just standing a little tall in his position, and when you open up with that upper part of the body, you catch a lot of wind, catch a lot of air. It's like putting your arm out of your car window when you're going down the motorway. It feels like you're going to put it off, and the downhill racer feels that, and that's why it's gone from 0.62 to 1.38, just a little too tall on the skis for me.
Yeah, and when that happens as well with the upper body, it opens up the shins as well. It stops the pressure being right through the front of the ski and starts to bring it to the rear tooth. Nickel issue that you need to adapt, but it's Kitzbuhel. These are the biggest, hardest races, so naturally you're being a little bit cautious, but you have to go the other way. You have to take it on more.
Track you need to learn. The skiers that come to the fore have often been skiing here for a decade plus, and the education continues for Slovenia's top speed racer, Boštjan Kleiner.
Look at this big flight. Opens out, gets a little bit twisted, styles it out, and then again landing onto what is essentially concrete. It's so hard, it's so icy. On inspection there's no chance of doing anything other than heading straight down the hill, because you will not stop.
Let's watch this man very carefully, carrying bib 15 for Team Switzerland, Carlo Janka, a former Olympic champion, former overall World Cup champion, and a man has got some form here. He was third in this race last year. Carlo Janka, one of the smoothest, cleanest, most technical of all skiers on the tour. And it doesn't surprise me to see 0.21. But perhaps for Carlo Janka, he wants to make amends for Beat Voigt and get the Swiss team back in this race.
Getting a little bit twisted there. He could be a bit of a dark horse. He does like this track. He's very smooth. He's got a great feel for what's happening underneath the skis, and he will have had all that information. Look at that, 6/10 the right side of the clock, and now he will take that all the way through this next section. Got such a good feel on the skis, wouldn't be surprised if that's grown.
Now, all of that hard work on the top part of the challenge, it pays dividends as he comes to the second half. 0.51 up on the Italian leader, Dominic Paris, and his skill set will be perfectly suited to this demanding lower section.
Great, comfortable jump, again, bleeding away a little bit of time. He's got to stop that deficit from getting any smaller. Oh, such a straight line through there, taking all the risks, trying to ski a shorter line as possible. Heavy on the left foot, trying to stay high, not getting dragged too low. Good turn.
And he's cut it just a little too fine. Pinching the line is straighter, but not always faster. And Carlo Janka now needs to execute the Hausberg jump and the traverse with perfection to put the Italians out of the top places. So far, so good for the Swiss. 1/100th of a second, the right side. Onto the right.
What's your best way to quit smoking? Is it cold turkey? How about reducing gradually? That's the idea behind Nicorette's Reduce to Quit approach. It's all about doing what works for you. Cutting out cigarettes all at once might not be for everyone, so why not try making the change at your own pace? With the Nicorette Reduce to Quit approach, you can break the big goal of quitting into smaller, more manageable steps. It's a slow and steady method, and if you haven't been able to quit before, it can help increase your chances of quitting successfully by 4 times. As you gradually reduce your cigarette intake over time, Nicorette gum can help you manage your cravings and withdrawal symptoms, so you can deal with those challenges and focus on quitting for good. It starts with a plan that's all your own. Ease into quitting by deciding which cigarettes matter least in your daily routine or are easiest to give up. Then chew Nicorette gum instead. Gradually cut out more and more cigarettes and chew Nicorette gum to help you manage the transition. It may not be easy, and the change won't happen overnight, but it's important to stick with it. even if you slip up every once in a while. Soon, you'll find yourself smoking less and less, and may only need help from Nicorette gum occasionally. And eventually, you'll be ready to quit smoking altogether. Remember, each cigarette you don't smoke gets you one step closer to quitting. So be sure to celebrate those small victories. And before you know it, those small victories can turn into one huge victory, quitting for good. At the end of the day, it's your quit journey. Make your plan and let Nicorette help you quit on your terms. Learn more about the Reduce to Quit approach at nicorette.ca. Do something amazing.
The Swiss, 1/100th of a second, the right side, onto the right foot now, stand hard and hold, then dive into the foreline. Carlo Janka needs to find 0.18 to take the lead. This final jump is crucial. Skis back in contact with the snow. Switzerland or Italy? It is Italy in control. Carlo Janka into third position. No change in the top positions. Dominic Paris and Peter Phil see off the best from Switzerland.
Whoa, that was a tight one. Oh, that was very tight. Good run, though. Again, it looks so smooth, getting a little bit bounced on some of these ruts and bumps. But, whoa, look at that. The shocks that are going through the body from these conditions, getting a little bit twisted up. But look at the skis as they try to maintain contact with the snow. Look at them bouncing around, trying to find clean grip.
Not so sure that that was the best choice of line for Carlo Janka. And when he watches the video back in the team hotel tonight, I think he will pinpoint that was the section where he lost his chance. Here is a chance for Italy to go 1, 2, and 3. Christoph Inuffer is next on course. A spectacular second position in the Super G here 24 hours ago. This man likes to live on the edge and play very close to the line. Look at that jump off the Mausafale. Huge air, massive speed. Inuffer is flying.
Started where he left off yesterday, taking all the risks, not looking at trying to be safe, anything other than that. He is just full attack, full gas, heavy on that left foot, trying to find clean snow contact.
Oh, he's on the net! Oh, and he's okay. He carries on with a big green light, but riding the netting is not advised at that kind of speed, and he's lost the time.
Taking a leaf out of Bodie's book, he did that a few years ago. Inuffer not quite having the same result there, and he's now got a lot of work to do, but fully expect to see him risk it all to try and make this up.
1.45. Oh, he was cutting such a tight line. That is the tactical play. That is the way he deals the cards, Inuffer. Puts everything on the line. If it works, he's amazing. But it can often go wrong. He's won the World Championship gold in seasons gone by with that kind of tactic. But now it's going 1.18 as we track him with the cable cam. 136, 84 miles per hour. Inuffer into 9th position. Lucky not to be down and out and in the net.
Very lucky escape. Sure, we're going to get to see that on the replay. Just cutting it a little bit too tight with the line, a little bit too direct, which then ended up costing him lower in the turn. Here we go. Trying desperately to stay out of those net. Skis up, gets caught, somehow manages to get that ski through the net, because if that has stuck, here you go, straight through the outie banner.
Oh, something would have had to have given way at one point if his ski went any deeper into the net. Watch carefully, up the banner he goes. Even Audi Quattros aren't designed to do that.
Oh, unbelievable.
Goodness me.
What an escape.
Christoph, that is... That's one of his 9 lives definitely gone.
Well, he used a couple of those yesterday as well, to be fair. I think Kitzbuhel, he's done well to get out of here alive, I think.
Let's turn our attention to Canada. Eric Gay is out on course. Eric, whose PB is 2nd position in the downhill here in 2013. Canada dominated here in the 1980s. 1980, Ken Reed. 81, Podborski. 82, Podborski again. 83, Todd Brooker. Those were the days when the crazy Canucks owned this piste. Wouldn't it be magical if Eric Gay could bring those glory days back here right now?
And he's using every ounce of this perfect technique that Eric has to negotiate good top section. A little bit behind the time here, but he's a great glider, and we will see what Eric's made of. Look at that, 3/10 nearly to the good. Look at him trying to stay. Oh, he's getting pitched around a little bit. This was the turn that Janka smashed straight through the gate.
Well, like Carlo Janka, Eric Gay is a technical master, often used by coaches as a role model for up-and-coming racers. 0.23, again, he's struggling with the line in the Larsen Schuss, but here he comes. 0.23 is well within his capability. Through the Red Bull Arch, as he prepares through the double gate, the new gate, remember? A small flight and prepare for traverse. Now 0.16 with a good strong finish, and if Eric Gay can keep the focus here, he could take the lead from the Italians. Look at him trying to hold the line. Now dive into the foreline. Not as quick as he wanted. Across traverse. 137 is fast through the gun. 155.01. 155.50. Oh, the cruelest of placings. Fourth position for Canada's #1, Eric Gay.
Just got dragged a little bit low through the fall away. He was a little bit twisted. He was desperately trying to find a clean edge. Didn't quite get it.
Well, the Italians still full of smiles and waiting patiently, but they will not be celebrating just yet. Attention turned to the man who won the Super G here yesterday, the man who won the Olympic gold in Sochi in 2014. This is Austria's new star, Matthias Meyer, looking to take his biggest victory in his career to date. Beautiful execution off the Mausefahler jump into carousel with a very healthy green light as he tackles the Steilhang.
Lovely, calm skiing through there, not getting flustered. Now stand heavy on that left foot. Try to stay clean, get out of those nets. Nice and low, taking it right to the edge of the piste. Look at that, quarter of a second, 110 kilometers an hour through the gun. Meyer is flying.
Part 1 goes to plan for the Olympic champ. Now part 2 and part 3 to be executed. How does the story unfold? Split time interval 3. The green light's still there. The Austrians are screaming with joy, and the double is on the cards.
Beautiful skiing, beautiful skiing. I still think he's going to have to go some. Peter Phil was very good through this middle section. Now we're going to see if Matthias Meyer can make up this small deficit. Got to be clean. Draw on those Super G skills here as he rolls up onto the left foot. Clean execution. Let him go.
Still only 26 years of age. This young lad now starts to feel the pressure, and he doesn't show that he's got the power in the midsection. Believe you me, he can still make up 0.53 if those skis are running nicely. Now, execution over the Hausberg jump to set himself up for traverse is the next key. He takes a 10th off, now down to 0.41 of a second. Stand hard on the right foot now, almost climbing across the mountainside. Dive down into the foreline. It's 4/10 now. If he can take another 2 off, he'll be on the podium. The speed is there. 155.01 the target time. Meyer for Austria, 6th position. No double victory for Matthias Meyer, 0.75 off the pace. It's a pretty good result, I have to say. His best downhill result of the season, but Mr. Schwarzenegger so badly wanted one of his fellow Austrians to take top position, and he'll have to wait and watch a few more.
Dominic Parrish will take a big sigh of relief having seen off Meyer down there. That's one of the big challenges for today's victory. Look at the flight. And again, so calm in the air, getting a little bit twisted as he's trying to push that trajectory across the hill. Such a calm dude, look at him. Doesn't even look out of breath.
Yeah, we were watching him this morning after inspection and giving a couple of interviews at the bottom of the racetrack, and he really is a very calm, cool. He's prepared to wait. He knows he needs to learn the trade before he becomes a multiple and consistent winner. And as we said, just 26 years of age, a great future. Here's another young rising star that I want you to watch very carefully. This is Alexander Ormot, Kilda Super G champ from last season, the youngest of the Vikings. Oh, look at that. 2 turns with the hip on the floor. That is not the way to ski the Mausafala, but that is definitely the way Kilde is setting out his stall here today. He's going to risk, he's going to be aggressive, he's going to put it all on the line.
Well, only now, oh, he's still doing it. We're not really seeing him find a clean edge. Every single turn so far has been to the inside, and he's losing grip every single turn. This is not what we're used to seeing from Kilde.
Maybe just a little over-aroused, the nerves and the adrenaline just pumped a little too much here for Kilde. Now he starts to settle. Now he looks like the skier that we love to watch and skied so well here in yesterday's competition where he took 4th place.
Every time he comes to a big turn, he doesn't really look like he's fully trusting, committing to his outside ski. Doesn't look like it's going to be interesting as he comes onto the fall-away if he can get over that right foot, because he's going to need it.
Yeah, maybe there's a setup issue. The equipment maybe not like a skating rink, and others are a little soft in places, and that's where, for me, Kilde looks to be struggling. Too heavy on the edge on the ice, and not enough. 0.48 is a big disappointment for the Norwegian. He will not be happy at all. He's been in the top 10 in the first 2 downhills of the 2017 Tour, and he'll be lucky to be in the top 15 with that result.
Straight out of the gate, that's the last thing you need. When you get the first turn in, you fall inside slightly. Second turn, you do exactly the same, and then that's playing on your mind the rest of the way down. Is it me? Is it my gear? What's going on? Because we're just not used to seeing this sort of run from him.
No, I totally agree, Ed. It's and look, just look at the slow-mo here. He knows that it's not right. Equipment or pilot. There's a great shot of Niki Lauda getting up into the leaders' enclosure to congratulate Dominic Parrish just on the right, and then Peter Phil in the centre there. A legend of speed congratulating our current speed leaders. Watch this man carefully, Johan Claret, the only man to ski over 100 miles per hour on the World Cup Tour. This man loves his speed, and if he can get these top turns out the way, he'll go really fast on the lower section. If you look at those splits that we analyse, Ed, this man was nailing the lower part of the course quicker than anybody in the 2 practice runs earlier this week.
So he's gonna have to get there with and be in touch, and only 600ths down. He's doing just that, really getting over it. Again, that similar high line to we've seen the Italians take. The French are taking the exact same line.
There we see it, green light. Watch him come now. Claret for France, now 0.48. Again, as predicted, he's had some very fast split sections, hasn't put one run together from top to bottom, but this is the day, time and place to do it. Right now, it's been a long time since the French have won here in downhill. Luc Alphand back in 1997, and 20 years old, Claret could be the big upset of the race.
And he's still got the green light through the section where...
Let's suppose that you're writing a really important email to a colleague, or a post on Facebook that all your friends will see, or a paper for your English class that you just have to get an A on, or a resume for your dream job, or a message to your crush on a dating site. The point is that you write important things each and every day. And whether you're an English professor or an English learner, we all could use a second pair of eyes to help us make sure we're always putting our best foot forward. Enter Grammarly, a writing app developed by some of the world's leading linguists. Grammarly helps you find and fix grammar, spelling, and punctuation errors wherever you write. Errors that other spelling and grammar checkers just can't catch. Grammarly also helps you improve word choice and style, making your writing clear and compelling all the time. Best of all, it's free. Better writing, better results. Click on the button to download Grammarly now.
Big upset of the race.
And he's still got the green light through the section where Dominic Parrish dominated. So here comes Claret, staying smooth, staying compact as he rolls from edge to edge before coming to the big Red Bull jump, before setting that right foot.
Jean-Claude Keely in 67, Luc Alphand in 97, and 2017 could belong to Johan Claret. Onto the right right foot now, cutting across Traverse, diving into the Zielschus. The big upset is on the cards. Oh, the light goes red. 700's defined. Here comes Claret. Hold that tuck. Keep your nerve. As Johan Claret is nearly there. Claret, oh, he's missed it. Second position for Johan Claret of France. That is quite spectacular. The race is far from over. Italy won, France in second, Peter Phil is third. Welcome back to Kitzbuhel, and let's take a look at the standings after 20 races. Dominic Paris is ahead of Johan Claret and Peter Phil. Carlo Janka, Eric Gay making up the top 5. Well, joining myself, Nick Fellows, in the commentary box is the former British #1, Ed Drake. Ed, we've both been on the mountain throughout the week inspecting this remarkable racetrack closely, and it does have the ability to stay good a little longer than other World Cup race piece. It would not be a surprise to see one of the lesser names throw caution to the wind and actually pull off the big gamble here today.
And that's what it's going to take. They're going to have to throw caution to the wind. Like you say, the track always holds up well. It's bulletproof under there. You're barely scratching the surface, so this track is going to be good from the first till the last. So we could see an upset. There's still time in this track. We see it. Foyts was up. We saw Max Franz doing a good top section, so I think there's still time to be had in this track, but it's whether somebody can put it down top to bottom.
Andy Sander for Germany is just 0.26 of a second off the pace. Now, if he can maintain that time deficit, he'll take runner-up position away. Paris leads, sets the target time at 1:55.01, but 0.33 off the pace is Claret runner-up. 0.40 or 0.4 off the pace gives Peter Phil third position. I'd say the door is still open for an outsider to grab a podium place here today.
Certainly is, and Sander's doing a good job through here. He's got to try and stay clean. Don't be too aggressive on the edges, especially on this flatter section. He's dropped to a second off the pace. Where did that go? Missed it in the flat section potentially, but look at him, hungry for speed, looking to stay aerodynamic and smooth. Nice, clean edge pressures, rolling through the flatter turns.
And he's got it under a second again, 0.81. Now, we've seen some skiers. Oh, that's a lovely little jump into the Traverse. And that enables the German to cut a very high, clean line. 1.07 seconds off the pace. Never better than 16th in downhill here. This could be a PB for the German. Not good enough for the podium, but 11th position. That's the quickest he's ever skied here in Kitzbuhel.
Good skiing. I think he'll take that. Again, he's another racer that's building results and he's building confidence. He's there knocking on the door, top 20s, the odd top 15, couple of top 10s bopping in. But he's just, it's not going to be long before he puts all those skills down and is able to start delivering podiums.
I'm a big fan of a couple of the German team coaches, Matthias Berthold and Wolfgang Meyer, and they're starting to put together a good little squad of young guys in preparation for the World Championships in St. Moritz this coming February and the Winter Olympic Games in 2018. Now let's take a look at Blaise Giesendana for the French team. Now, Giesendana, believe it or not, has a Scottish mom, Sarah Blackshaw, who used to race for the British squad back in the day, and a French father. And understandably, Blaise has opted to race through the French ski racing system, better support, and he's skiing alongside the likes of Johan Claret. And it's also time for us to introduce one of our special guests of the day, great old friend of mine, a former ski racer here in Kitzbuhel, but now one of the gentlemen that invests more money into ski racing than any other of the equipment manufacturers. Of course, it's the big boss from Head, Johan Elias. Johan, welcome to Kitzbuhel. Welcome to the Eurosport commentary box. You've skied this track not quite as much as the top guys, but many of them, and it really is that special.
It is the most special. It's beyond words to describe. But it's one of those courses, all these obstacles just popping up at you.
And you're supporting so many of the top names in the sport. They come, they go. This to the athlete, this to the racers. Some of them described it to me earlier this week as being more important than the Olympic Games.
This is it. If you won Kitzbuhel, then you're a legend.
14th position for Blaise Giesendana. Dominic Paris still leads for Italy. Johan Claret, who's out of Johan Eliash's team, is in runner-up position for France. Peter Phil is in 3rd place. Johan, one of the many celebrities here. Not only the biggest sporting event in Austria, but for you, your company, and the ski community, one of the biggest across the world.
It's like the Monaco Grand Prix, or a very, very big football match.
Now, I want to watch this gentleman very carefully indeed. Klaus Kroll, coming to the end of his career at 36 years of age. He's got 4 World Cup wins against his name. He's been on the podium here before. Just describe to us, Johan, what it feels like underfoot when you ski the Steilhang, the Mauserfalle, and these difficult turns. Because it wasn't too long ago that you were actually forerunning these races, opening it up to get the competition underway.
Well, that part is very, very icy. It's difficult to describe, but if you stood there, just tried to still there standing, you would just, gravity would take you and you would just slide down. It's very, very icy and bumpy, and that's the challenge.
Now let's take a look at Kroll. He's having to fight to keep his place in the Austrian team. Such is the strength and depth of the Austrian squad. But it's not looking like a good day for Team Austria, Johan, here today. There is so much pressure on the local boys to do the business here this weekend.
This is the race to win for every Austrian. So, of course, the pressure is incredible. And I think Max Franz, he was very unlucky. Perhaps he should get better bindings. And Matthias Meyer, who had a great victory yesterday, he just made lots of small mistakes, which added up.
So good to have Johan Eliash, the CEO of the Head Ski Equipment Company, but most importantly, a passionate ski racer. You were a Swedish ski racer back in the day. I won't say when, but I remember when you wore your Swedish badge with pride on the mountain.
Oh, I mean, I love skiing, always my favorite sport. Yeah, what can I say?
What do you say when your athletes don't win, Johan? They've had a good day, but you haven't quite taken top position. Nordica team will take the Constructors' Prize here today. Does that bother you, or you just want to be a part of the sport in general?
Of course it bothers me. What do you think? No, what was a little bit irritating, Beat, he was 7/10 ahead, and then he made that mistake. He could have cruised down, and he would have won with a big margin.
So good to see the legend Bernie Eccleston from the Formula One world congratulating Dominic Paris. We're now into bib 24, Valentin Giraud-Moix. The million-dollar question now is, are one of the young rising stars going to give us a bit of an upset here, or the skiers that are now on the podium are looking good, not only for the points, but the big prize purse as well?
I think it's still possible. The track is still fast, and the top guys, none of them got sort of a fabulous run. So there is still possibilities for the younger guys that are coming now.
And of course, Sweden not looking that good. You're more British than you are Swedish now, Johan. And Dave Riding, our new hotshot skier from the United Kingdom. When are you going to sign him? And secondarily,
watch this one.
Could this be the upset that we're referring to? This is Valentin Giraud-Moix from the French team. He's had a valuable course report from Johan Claret, who lies second for Team France. But this could be a huge upset. It's been 20 years since the French have won. And Giraud-Moix tucks for the line. And no, he pushes Claret into 3rd position. 2 French racers now on the podium. And we need to watch this race carefully. The former British #1 Ed Drake tipped earlier this morning that as the temperatures rise and the snow molecules change, sometimes the track can speed up, and this could be one of those golden races for the later numbers.
It's true, but also you have to keep in mind the visibility gets worse and worse. So now it's getting darker and darker, and then it gets difficult to see the bumps, and you get offline a little bit.
Johan, it's been great to see you in the box. Let's get Ed back in there. Thank you for all of your support. Our sport would not be as big as it is without you. But let's go skiing later.
And you're fantastic for the sport, Nick.
Johan Elias popping into the commentary box, putting on a very brave face with Dominic Paris at the top of the table. Some of his best athletes crashing out, including Beat Feuz. But Johan, one of the real characters and one of the former skiers on the racetrack here years gone by. Now, back to Ed Drake. Ed, you predicted it this morning that the track could get better for the later numbers, and that prediction of yours seems to be coming true.
Yeah, and Guillaume had a brilliant training round, second training round. He was fourth in the training round, so not so much of a surprise to see him ending up in the top three if it does stay this way. But he had a quality run. He put together the sections. He had great feedback from the bottom, and obviously used that to his advantage and taken second place currently.
We need to watch carefully because look at Andy Vibret for Team USA. He's 0.52 of a second off the pace. Right now he's in the top 5, and if he can nail the traverse, come on Andy, hold on tight. The man they call the Warhorse from Team USA. He's a big, powerful, strong skier. If he can just squeeze a little more speed out of those skis on this last shoot, then he's there. And Vibret, 16th position.
Just getting dragged low in the traverse can have such a big effect on your time, because instead of skiing diagonally down and across the hill, you're skiing up, you're fighting hard against gravity and the hill, and just to sneak inside that gate before you then drop down into the finish line.
Dominic Paris, well, he's not going to leave that leader's enclosure. Bryce Bennett for Team USA, just 24 years of age. And Bennett, again, yet to score points here in Kitzbuhel. No pressure, nothing to lose, everything to go for.
And you guarantee that he will be taking all the risks he can. Still a little bit upright from the ankle, not really taking it to the piece yet. Hopefully he's going to start to bring the challenge. The legs are a little bit stiff. He needs to absorb those rolls a little bit cleaner if he's going to start challenging with the big boys. But a great line across here, stays nice and compact, and across the flats.
Beautiful line through the Steilhang, half a second off the pace. He's only ever raced here once before in downhill, and Sasha Rierig, head coach from Team USA, has really grooved the race line into this young lad's brain, because that was good execution on the top. We pick him up now live on the lower part of the challenge. Hasn't quite gone as well through the Seidlaumsprung and the Alta Schneese part of the racetrack where we don't see the skiers.
Just a few heavier excess. You can see that outside leg quite a long way from his body, quite stiff out there. So now he's got to try and bring the body weight forward, really get over that ski as we come across the fall-away. Can he stay high in the line? Getting dragged a little bit low, but he's battling to stay up there.
Yeah, good commitment from the American. It's not about the time, it's about finishing, and if he picks up a few World Cup points, he will be absolutely delighted. When you see the young lads in the practice session who open the course, they celebrate just finishing this racetrack as if they've won it. I mean, it really is that scary.
It is, and it's a big achievement to get from the top to the bottom, but these guys are racers. They want to prove their point. They want to show their best game. So I'm sure he will use this as a result, that he will, next time he comes, he's not going to be as intimidated, he's not going to be as passive as he was today, and he will keep coming year on year and building.
Still a couple of races that we should watch carefully on the starting order. The next man in the gate will be the Canadian Manny Osborne-Paradis. Manny's got a lot of miles under the skis and 2 World Cup wins against his name. He looked good in 1 or 2 of the sections in training. You can never write off Manny Osborne-Paradis. He's one of those skiers with a beautiful touch. He looked so loose and calm. Loosey-goosey, they nicknamed him when he was a kid in his ski club back in Whistler Mountain. But he looked good in training. And Osborne-Paradis slowly but surely getting on top of his game from a form, results and confidence perspective.
Manny's more known for his gliding, like you were saying, and that touch on his skis. So he'll be looking forward to this next flat part. He's been working very hard on his steeper, more icy, more tricky sections, but now he's in his happy place. This is the part where Manny can make time on everybody else. But now as we pick him up lower down, he's got a lot of work still to do. Very compact, clean from edge to edge, and he's got some work to do.
Yeah, 1.1 off the pace. That split time interval 5. Now 1.16. And Osborne Parody can hopefully shave a little bit of that time off, but it's not going to be able to challenge for the podium positions. Dominic Paris looking good for the win. And the big surprise is Valentin Juromois in second position. Johan Clary, also of Team France, is third. 16th place for Manny Osborne Parody of Team Canada.
Some good skiing down there. Saw some form of old from Manny Osborne Parody down there. He put together some decent sections. He's been working very hard on the steeps, and I think we're seeing that today.
Let's take a look at Ottmar Striedinger. Now, the Austrians could do with an outsider breaking in here. Their fastest racer is Matthias Meyer in 8th position. And that will, well, it will put pay to the huge expectation for Team Austria at the start of this competition. Can Striedinger pull something off here?
He's going to be drawing on nearly all of this 60,000 person crowd in the finish area. They're all willing him. They want an Austrian on the podium. If not the top, they desperately want him on the top step, but he's going to have to stay out the nets. Got a bit of work to do, I'm assuming now. Yeah, there we go, 106 through the gun. That isn't quick enough, and that deficit will build through the flat section. He's going to have to pull something very, very special out the bag on the lower half of this track.
Yeah, that little kiss of the net coming out of Steylang. Oh, and Striedinger, another big mistake. Scrubs off a lot of speed, and that puts pay to Ottmar Striedinger's chances here after such an exciting performance from Team Austria with their 50th victory here in Kitzbuhel in yesterday's Super G. Downhill day is looking a little disappointing for our hosts here.
And now it looks like it's knocked his confidence a little bit. That's getting thrown towards the nets. Now he's looking passive. He's looking like he's nervous about what's coming. You've got to put it out your mind. Here you go, full commitment. You can't be passive now.
Just a split second of hesitation across this traverse and you are down and out. We saw that with Beat Voits earlier, one of 2 dramatic incidents in this third downhill of the men's tour. As Ottmar Striedinger for Team Austria, 3.87 off the pace into 26th position. Benjamin Thompson for Canada is out on course. Thompson out of Calgary in Canada, now 29 years of age. Got a little bit of form here. You go back to 2014, he was 12th, started making some big inroads on the tour, then picked up an injury. He's back this season, fully fit, strong, and ready to try and make his mark once again.
This is the last place you need to be coming back from an injury. This is the last place you want to come if you're not fully fit and ready. So assuming that is the case, another one getting very, very close to the Audi banner. A lot of guys now getting bounced through those ruts and ending up a lot lower in the line than they planned, and that is paid. He's paid the price for that mistake, and now up to 1.8 in the red. He's going to have to try and make. Comes over the Red Bull jump. Good commitment, nice roll on. Get that outside shoulder down. Get that outside ski nearer the snow. Look at him, he's still looking for his tuck. Coming through 138 kilometers an hour on the gun. An absolutely massive flight as well. About 40-odd meters over into the finish.
Well, Dominic Paris, the winner of the downhill here in 2013, is now starting to look a little more confident that he's claimed the 2017 in the World Cup Ski Racing Tour's 50th anniversary year. It'll be the 3rd time Paris has won here if he pulls it off today. He also won the Super G back in 2015. When Dominic Paris was skiing, Ed, we were talking about his build, his weight, his power reserves and strength. Are we saying that that's the build of the athlete that we need to conquer the strife here in Kitzbuhel?
I don't think so. I think, especially in what's so great about skiing, is you can have the smaller guys mix it with the big guys. It's not a case of if you're big, you're going to win, and if you're small, you've got no chance. Because we see people like Matthias Meyer, who's one of the relatively small guys, winning and doing very, very well in downhill. So I think we're lucky that with skiing that it's about your skill.
Well, here's one man that's exactly that, one of the smallest, built like a jockey, David Poisson. The French team are skiing brilliantly out here today. Let's not forget, Jérôme is the upset of the competition so far. Claret lies in third position, and David Poisson, my apologies, doesn't want to be out of the party here.
He certainly doesn't. And when you know that your team is flying, and you know the stuff that you've been working on in training as a team, and the stuff that you've been looking at inspection as a team, you know that's all going right. That just gives you a big, big boost, and David Poisson is using that on the top section. Where are we at now? A second down. He's got a lot of work to do if he's going to make it up.
Well, Poisson, who was a top-seed racer a couple of seasons ago, is another skier on the comeback trail from injury. They call him Caillou, the Rock, because he's small, hard, squat, and tough. And look at him dig deep here. He wants to try and get it under a second to make a good and valuable point score here today. And David Poisson shows the French team form, 12th position. That is 4 of their racers in the top 15, but 2 of them on the podium.
What a great result for the French so far today. I'm sure David would have liked a little bit better form through that lower part of the track, but look at him, happy to be in the finish. He knows his teammates, he knows his buddies are doing the business for France. He just would have liked to have been a little bit closer.
Dominic Paris in the centre of your picture leads, but it's the French skiers full of smiles, Johan Claret and Valentin Jérôme, that make up the podium positions. And the best of the Austrians, the Olympic champ, Matthias Meyer, down in 8th place. Early starter Steve Nyman has to settle for 10th position. Eric Gay, the best of the North Americans, in 6th place. But you cannot take anything away. Dominic Paris is starting to make a bit of a name for himself as the man that does the business on Kitzbuhel, winning the downhill here for the 2nd time and his 3rd win on the Hahnenkamm Mountain. It is Italy that win the strife in 2017. From Nick Fellows and the Eurosport ski team, many thanks for your company. It's goodbye for now.